it's Gina from orchidandopal.com and welcome back to another finished jewelry update. It's hard to believe we're already at the end of another month, but here we are, and I'm back to share some of the pieces that I've made from products and materials that I've shared recently from bead box subscriptions and different places I've shared along the way. I don't just like to do those. I like to come back and give you some hopefully inspiration on what you can do with some similar materials if we've gotten some of the same things, and also share with you a little bit about my process and maybe a little bit about what was going on in my brain when I was coming up with certain things. I'll have a few pieces from the recent March 2021 bargain bead box, a finished piece from the recent Potomac bead box, a piece from a recent tutorial, as well as some new bead weaving designs I haven't previously shared. So I hope you'll stick around to the end of the video and check out these pieces. But before we get into it, I want to let you know that this video is sponsored by Skillshare. So I've shared information about Skillshare here on a regular basis, but if you haven't heard of them, Skillshare is an online learning community for creative and curious people. They offer thousands of inspiring classes on topics including graphic design, productivity, arts and crafts, and much, much more. This month I discovered a class which I found particularly relevant called Style Your Favorite Nook to Fit Just Right by Stacy Lanning. And in this course, she provides many great tips and ideas for styling even the tiniest of spaces to work more efficiently for you and look great too. I think this could be beneficial for anyone looking to create a special beading spot in their home. This is just one example of the huge number of classes available on Skillshare, and now more than ever, we're still dealing with staying at home, a lot of us, although more things are opening up. But at any time, it's a great time to learn new things and new skills, and to keep your mind active with practical ideas. Normally, their service is a little bit less than $10 per month, but because Skillshare is sponsoring today's video, the first 1,000 people to click on the link in the description section right below the video will get a free trial of Skillshare Premium. They do require a card to be put on file when you sign up, but they will not charge you until that free trial ends. So just make sure you update your information if you don't want to be charged prior to that trial ending. So click on the link below and take advantage of their thousands of inspiring classes with hands-on projects and feedback, and give it a try with no obligation. All right, let's kick it off with the first set I made from the recent bargain bead box. You know, this month they sent so many beautiful green beads and also silver tone findings. So one of the focals that they sent was this green aventurine stone pendant, and it's pretty simple and plain. It's beautiful on its own. I decided to make this decorative kind of like peyote stitch bead woven bail, and I attached that to one of the components of the toggle clasp that they sent. So another way you can use a toggle clasp besides the typical way that you would use that. And I added that as a decorative element to add on to this pendant that I created. So there's a look at the back. It's the same on the front and the back, and then just connected at either side of those points. Then I added some of those carved stone leaf beads, as well as a little pop of blue that you can see in the form of that crystal rondelle. Wire wrapped some of these links to break up the chain and also bring a little bit of blue up to the chain, since I went ahead and added some of that additional color in with the green to make it just a little bit more interesting. And there's a look at the necklace in full, and I added another piece of chain as an extender and a little leaf at the end of that to give it that decorative finish. And since they had also sent us the two smaller green stones that were in that similar teardrop shape, I wanted to create earrings to go with the necklace to create a whole set. So I did the same type of thing on the earrings with the pendant, where I created those little peyote stitch style diamonds with size 11 Odelica beads. That's just something I came up with, and I can definitely do a tutorial if that is requested and wanted. So, and then I just connected those at the points there at the corner. They sent multiple toggle clasps, so again, I just used the two loop portions of two other toggle clasps to add to the top of those. And there we go, a coordinating set with the earrings and a necklace. Here's a look at the second necklace that I created using the contents of the March bargain bead box. You can see I have all sorts of things in here from that box, and I added just a little bit to them. So These rounds came from the box. This glass disc-shaped bead came from the box, as well as these stones and the crystals. And the main star of the show here is the pendant. So this green bead here, there's a hole going down through the center of that. And I wanted to dress it up a little bit more. I was trying to think of something different that I could do. And I just happen to have these silver tone rings in my stash, like jewelry connectors. That would happen to fit around it perfectly. So I started out by wanting to frame that, and then I went from there to just see how that glass looked inside of the frame. I still felt like it needed something, and I wanted to pull in some of these little tiny green rounds that matched these larger stones to pull that all together. So I ended up doing some simple wire wrapping of those stones around the edge of that frame, and attached the glass disc bead here with a piece of wire going through the hole, and then doing some wire wrapping, as you can see. Since the top of that is plain, I figured I'd add some little swirls and embellishments. And then there's a look at the back of the piece, and it's all nice and sturdy and wrapped up really well, and took this from a very simplistic glass disc bead to this larger focal. So I could have actually just left this and put it on a really plain chain, but I decided to go ahead and use some of the other beads that they sent this month. So as you can see, I did some wire wrapped links along with some of the bead caps that they sent, and alternated those up these sides, and used the chunkier beads in the front of the necklace, and then finished it off back here with these smaller dyed stone beads, which I think bring out some of that other tone that is in the glass disc shape here. So that's the necklace, also an extender, and the decoration there at the end. Next, I made a pair of earrings to go with the necklace. I have the similar stones that I used in the necklace, and just graduated them from largest to smallest all the way at the bottom. Used some of those bead caps right there. Wire wrapped it all together, and you can see on the crystal I did the same thing on the earrings that I did with the necklace, which is that extra bit of wire that wraps around either side of the crystal. And I made my own ear wires out of the same wire I was using. Somebody special a couple years ago gave me a wire jig, so I've been pulling that out a lot more lately, and made some ear wires to go along with them. Really simple shape, and I had some beads left over, including one of those glass discs, so I decided to go ahead and make a bracelet. And I used, again, those crystals and the other beads that coordinate with the necklace. So this is a 3-strand stretch bracelet that I made. I tripled up some of those spacer beads in there, as you can see, those little rope-looking edges, and connected the stretch cord by way of one of these knot covers, and added the 2 crystals and framed my other glass disc bead to be a focal of the bracelet. So that is the other set that I made out of the contents of the bargain bead box. And there's still items left over. But let me show you what I've made beyond that, first of all, from some recent tutorials. So on my wrist, I actually have this bracelet here, is the bugle bead herringbone and tile bracelet. So if you like that and you have some bugle beads, you can definitely make one of these, and also the 2-hole tiles. I think that the Miyuki Tila beads would also work with this. And I think you could also do this with 6mm bugle beads, and maybe just do 2 rows of bugles instead of 3 and get away with that. But it's a really versatile design. And then just brick stitch was used on either side to taper those down to where I could use a single strand clasp. So that's a tutorial you can check out if you haven't already. And one that I have just posted is for the netted bicone and herringbone necklace. And I have 3 variations below. Here's one of them a little bit closer up. And this matches the bracelet tutorial that goes by the same name, posted a few weeks ago. And some had mentioned in the comments about a necklace to go with it. And immediately I got to work. And this one did take me a while to get the shape right so that it would lay flat around the neck, but I'm really happy with it now. And that tutorial just went up. I don't have the necklace from the tutorial because I am filming this prior to that. So that necklace is almost done, but not quite done. So here are 3 of the other examples though to give you an idea of what these necklaces look like if you have some bicones and some 11/0 and 15/0 seed beads and or 11/0 delicas. To go along with those, something I haven't shared yet are the earrings I made to go along with that pattern. And so here they are, and this is actually the colorway that I'm using for the necklace in the tutorial, or I should say use since it's already been posted. And these are some earrings I made to go along with that, so I'll be sure to share how I made these if you're looking for some coordinating earrings. So those were the lilac and rose gold combination. Then I have these that match the green and gold and nickel variety that is down below right here. And besides those, I just recently shared a tutorial for these gemstone chip earrings where you can use colorful wire to wire wrap some gemstones onto these oval links from bbcraft.com. So I went crazy and I made all different colors. And here's the red variety to get an up-close look at these. So if you're interested in making some of these, the tutorial is already up. Now let me get these out of the way because I just have a few more things to share. All right, so this next piece is by Carol Ohl, and this was the pattern that came in the Potomac Beads Best Bead Box XL, and that is for this measuring tape, which I think is so awesome. I had just been wanting to look into this, and bam, there it appeared in the box. And it came out great. I followed the pattern just as is. I didn't even follow a video, and everything I needed was in there, and the instructions were very clear. So if you haven't tried that project yet, and you've gotten that particular pattern and kit, this is an up-close look at what that's going to turn into from a basic plastic white measuring tape to a very fancy beaded measuring tape. I just love it. Since we're on the topic of beaded items that are not jewelry, I've been also playing around with some other things. So this is a beaded tea light that I've been playing around with. I wanted to see how many Delica beads would fit precisely around one of these, specifically the ones with the clear cup. And this is a pattern that I made using my computer, basically a spreadsheet that I formatted into the brick-like shapes that mimic a similar size as the even count peyote stitch, which is what I did here. So just like those even count peyote stitch rings, this is like a large version of the ring, and it just fits all the way around and goes together the same way. I have seen these done before. This wasn't an actual idea that I invented, although this pattern is one that I made. And I've also seen these used and double as napkin rings. So if you're looking for other ideas besides jewelry for beading purposes, you can do something like that as well. I have a lot of ideas I hope to share in the future about non-jewelry beaded items. And then I just had a request by a viewer named Michelle, and I told her it'd probably be a couple months, but she asked me to make some beaded beads, and she didn't specify what beads. She said it could be anything, whether it's one hole or multi-hole beads or whatever, but that she'd like to see some beaded beads. And some things take a while to go together, like the netted bicone necklace, but I started playing around with beaded beads from Moby duos and Irish duos from my stash, and also some 2-hole lentils. And I was shocked at how fast the idea came together. I did have to tweak it several times, but I guess that's the thing with beaded beads is that they are small. So if you have to redo, it doesn't take nearly as much time. So Michelle, I hope you like this. I also have something else to show that is similar and a spin-off of this design that I made after. This right here is the tassel that came in the recent Potomac Beads box. So I went ahead and used this because I thought it looked perfect with the blue color of these Irish duos. And I've seen these beaded beads, especially when they're larger, used with some of these tassels. So that's why I put that together. This is a Swarovski pearl on top of that. And then I also used a couple of bead caps and a long chain. So that is one beaded bead, original pattern on top of the tassel to make a necklace. This could even be a fancy pull for something decor-wise. And then I spun off of the larger one and started making smaller ones with the same beads. And that's how I came up with these varieties. This was the next one I made. I kept stepping back on the number of beads that I used This one still has the lentils in there, along with the Moby duos and the Irish duos. And then these were the smallest ones, which happen to be my favorite. They're just so perfectly round and they are so secure. They feel solid. And the hole is big enough that you can put your beading thread or bead string wire through that without a problem, but they're not huge. So if you're somebody who wants a more understated beaded bead, that is something that I think you would probably like. And I combined those with some of the other white and blue pearls that I had in my stash, and it was definitely a fun project to play around with, and I hope to share at least this design and more beaded beads in the future. But that was really fun to play around with, especially getting back to those multi-hole shapes and seeing that idea work out. So that is everything I have been up to this past month since the last finished jewelry update. I hope you enjoyed checking out these pieces, and hopefully it gave you some inspiration or a totally different spin-off idea, something that you can do with your own beads. I want to thank you so much for being with me. I appreciate each and every one of you. And if you enjoyed the video, please feel free to give it a big thumbs up. Don't forget to comment down below if you have anything you'd like to say. And please subscribe while you're here, because I'd love to have you back and notified when I'm posting new content. Also, a huge thank you to Skillshare for sponsoring today's video. Again, that link will be down below, and you can check out the little eye in the corner of the video for linked tutorials and other related content. So I hope to have you back real soon. I'll definitely be back soon. But until next time, I hope you have a fabulous rest of your day, and as always, happy beading.